There you go.
I ain't doing no studying right now.
Skaterade! Hey listeners, it's Jasmine here at the top of the episode. We recorded the interview that you're going to hear today on June 6th with Elijah Justice. So I'm just here to say a few things about the episode. I think y'all are really going to enjoy it. We got really into the history of Cleveland freestyle with Elijah and just regional skating in general in a broad context, but especially regional skating in Ohio. And he just has a really cool sort of auteur perspective to everything that he does. Everything is very considered and very thoughtful, but at the same time, super duper sincere. And this interview definitely has a special place in my heart. I really enjoyed this interview a bunch, and I hope you all do too. Just a few more things before we get into it. Again, you are listening to the Skaterade podcast, and you can find us at Skaterade Pod on Instagram. Also, through our link tree on Instagram in our bio, you can find links to our stickers as well as our patches, which feature the Skaterade logo designed by our good friend Lauren Ward. And yeah, by buying those stickers and patches, you help us to continue making this podcast a reality. So if this podcast that we're creating has ever moved you or inspired you, or you just come here to listen to us week to week for some other reason, it would be much appreciated if you could extend any support that you can. So thanks again for being part of the Skaterade community and part of the broader discussions that we've been having here on the podcast. And hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to Skaterade. I'm Jasmine.
I'm Mac.
And today we are here with the multi-talented Elijah Justice, an Ohio native transplanted to Brooklyn. He's a rhythm skater I admire for his willingness to go against the grain. He's a graphic and apparel designer who tackles issues like the prison industrial complex, racial profiling, and even self-care in his work. And that's just the beginning. We're excited to sink into this interview and get to know him a little better. Hey, Elijah.
Hello, Jasmine and Mac. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited today. Super excited to be here.
We're so grateful that you're here too. I kind of want to ask about something off the jump because I know you're from Ohio. I'm from Ohio too. So I'm curious about it seems like you're from Cleveland from my understanding, right?
So I'm technically from Akron,
Okay.
but when it comes to skating, there's not really any rinks. So I go to Cleveland. Cleveland's like second home to me.
Yeah, cool. Okay, hell yeah. So I'm from the Cleveland area too myself, actually. So that was something I was really excited about kind of talking about. But I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about like what it was like to kind of grow up in that area. You know, did you skate when you were younger? And what was that like for you? And if not, what got you into skating?
Cool. Yeah. So honestly, growing up, I went to Catholic schools up until college. So from K through eighth grade, we had this thing called Catholic Schools Week. And every once a year in like January, we would go to a rink in Akron called Rockies. And we would just go there and roller skate with the school. And that kind of introduced me to roller skating. And in high school, I kind of like didn't pick it up. We went 1 year for summer gym, but otherwise I didn't return back until I don't know if you've heard of this place called Fun and Stuff.
Yep.
It's in like Macedonia, Ohio. So the girl that I was dating in college and post college, one of our first dates was at Fun and Stuff, and we went roller skating there. And that kind of like opened up this new world to us. Like, oh yeah, roller skating. We did it before, but so from there, when we graduated college, we were still dating, and we went to United Skates in Wycliffe, Ohio, which is like northeast Cleveland, Ohio area. And we went to United Skates. They had an adult night, and we both went there. And we were like, "Whoa, this is not like fun and stuff. This is these people here. They're the real deal." They were doing jumps. They were like skating in groups, and the most I could do at the time was skate backwards. And she was kind of more scared than me, so she didn't even really go out there a lot. So I was just like, "Oh, I'm kind of out here by myself." And I'll never forget, one of the skate guards came up to me and told me to move in some because I was just skating fast on the outside lane. I wasn't doing no tricks or nothing. So it was like a cool first experience moment, like, oh, this is really roller skating. And Akron had a couple of rinks, but they didn't have the skate experience that you've seen in like roll bounce or um ATL. Rockies had closed down when I was in high school, and then fun and stuff was still open, but they had go-kart racing, arcade, and it was like just a really small area for skating. So yeah, it didn't really go there that much.
Yeah, yeah.
So, from what I understand, you really started getting super into skating once you were already in New York City. Is that true?
Yes, it's funny. I got my internship offer in 2018, right when I started really skating heavy. And basically from there, it's like, well, gotta move to New York. So goodbye, everybody I met in Cleveland. And yeah, so most people don't know it, but when I started roller skating, I was going to Dreamland Roller Rink like every Friday night, every Saturday night. That was my skate session. Like,
Just because that's what you knew about when you moved here. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I realized when I moved to New York, it was like I searched roller skating rinks, and at the time, Hot Skates was open, but it was too far away. So this is like 2018, 2019. It was like too far away, and I didn't know how to get there, and I had an internship pay. So I remember it was like um, April 2019, and I went to Prospect Park when they opened, and I tried the rental skates one time. I had never tried plastic rental skates, the bright green and blue skates. Tried those one time, then I went right to Five Stride on 420 2019, bought my first pair of skates. And one of the first skate parties I went to, aside from Dreamland, was a butter roll event, actually.
Cool.
And I was so excited. I was like, I got my own skates. I'm in New York City. Like, let's go. Time to skate. And yeah, I just realized it was a completely different vibe than Cleveland, Ohio roller skating for sure. But all in all, it was like, okay, this is interesting for sure.
And how would you say you stay connected to the Ohio skate scene while you're here in New York? Because you live here full time, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. I live here full time. It's an interesting experience because I didn't really start connecting with the Cleveland community until like fall 2019 when I returned back with my first pair of skates and went to Cleveland, and I started kind of meeting people, but they like it was cool, but I still felt like the outsider. But I really started connecting with Ohio at RITC, which is like a big skate event rolling in the Carolinas last year. I went there, and since I can't be with the Cleveland skate community, I'm screen recording thousands of like clips all the time, thousands of like, okay, this is a routine, this is a slide, whatever. So at RITC, they kind of seen me and was like, yo, who is this guy? We never seen him in Cleveland before. And it's like, yeah, yeah. I actually started skating there pre-COVID and then had to move. So when you just seen a guy with the afro popping out of nowhere doing your style and stuff, it's like, yo, that guy is fire. So from then, I had to connect with them on Instagram, and I had to connect with them at different skate jams in like Memphis or Atlanta. And now, thankfully, today we're in like group chats on Instagram. And so that's one of the main ways that I kind of keep in contact if we're not going to skate jam or if I'm not in Cleveland.
That's so cool. Of course, you have the regional style elements like the Cleveland Shuffle and those beautiful 360 jumps that y'all are known for. But what do you feel is the essence of Ohio skating, or Cleveland skating rather, that sets it apart?
Yo, I tell it to everybody, man. It's like it's the attitude, it's the creativity. It's like, to me, at its basic form, skating, we all do the same moves to a degree, right? So it's
Mhm.
really about the swagger and the attitude you have when doing the moves. Like when we do a slide, what even if it's just like maybe it's the face that we make or how we kick our leg out and just like Cleveland freestyle is all about exaggerated movements. So yeah, we're doing a slide, but we're holding our foot out or we're making a stank face while we're doing it. And that it just like reeks like confidence. It reeks like, we're them guys when we're on the floor. And I think that's you can even say the same about Columbus when it comes to them striding. It's like that's what really makes Cleveland freestyle. Like the jumps are cool, the footwork and slides is cool, but it's the confidence and the attitude behind the style that I think like it gives us that bad boy style because of that bad boy mentality. Because a lot of rinks don't like when we jump, a lot of rinks don't like when we slide, but when it's a pack of us together, like 10 people doing the same moves, everybody's watching us. Like, because Cleveland is such a small area and we're still kind of getting known for our style. Like, of course, people know us, but in comparison to JB Chicago skaters or New York, New Jersey house disco skaters, even Atlanta skaters, we're still like the underdog fighting for our mainstay at these skate jams or at rinks outside of Ohio.
I feel like Cleveland has always been the underdog, unfortunately,
In
in
everything,
everything. Like, but Cleveland is that's why we're so tough,
literally,
honestly. Like, I don't know. I feel like I moved here from Cleveland, and I was like, it's fine. I can fit in just fine. Like, I was like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a change, honestly.
literally.
Yeah, that's
Nah,
funny.
I always tell people like Midwest people, man, we move different. Like we
Mhm.
know, like we know that we're the underdog. We don't come from, big crazy cities. We don't come from like silver spoon type lifestyle. We have to really work for whatever it is that we want. And I think that's the
Yeah,
same thing when it comes to skating.
yeah, that's so interesting to hear. Um, yeah, I really appreciate that perspective, and it makes me kind of wonder too, like, what are some of the differences that you notice between Cleveland or just like Midwest in general, and then kind of being here in New York, or you mentioned New Jersey. Like, are there some kind of big differences you see, not just in like the skate style itself, but even in like community or how community is built?
Oh man, yeah. So one of the big things that I noticed first when going to Ohio and then coming back here, Cleveland and even like Columbus and Dayton and Cincinnati, crews are a big thing. Most people are in skate crews. Um, and when I came to New York City and skated at like Brooklyn Skates and then went to Branch Brook and Massapequa, crews are, I mean, I don't I there wasn't a big crew presence from my understanding. Like I've seen a few people, but it didn't seem like it was like in Cleveland, like I can give you 6 crews right now, 3 of them being traditional, conventional Cleveland freestylers. And then I can give you more new school crews that have been created in the past 2 years. And it's almost like if you want to really learn Cleveland freestyle and take it to the next level, you have to join a crew. Otherwise, you got to kind of try and find people who are willing to give up like secrets or just take their time with you. So that was one of the biggest things that I realized I was different. But if we're talking like skate style, I think New York, New Jersey people, they're like technicality is super important to them and how they do whether it be pivots, even slides. Like I noticed it seemed like it was less important about like the swagger or the attitude that's done in the moves, and it's more important like making sure you hit your pivot right on the upbeat. You do whatever footwork when your partner's skating. It's a chemistry thing. You're all in sync. Whereas partner skating is not a big thing in Cleveland like that. So technicality is still important for when you're doing moves, especially if you're a more conventional or traditional Cleveland freestyler. But the attitude and how you do the moves, from my perception, is just as important. So, like, of course, there's really specific technicalities for doing a jump or doing a spin or certain routines. But with the new school, it's kind of like, yeah, we might be a little wild at first doing our moves, and that's okay. So it seems like technicality sometimes is like, I guess maybe sacrificed, or it's okay to not be as precise starting out. But I always felt like New Yorkers and New Jersey skaters are just like, yeah, like you got to hit those pivots exactly, land on that back six right here on the clap, like do whatever, like make sure you in your, especially when it comes to trains and trios. Like I don't even train in trio that much because it's almost kind of daunting to try because people take it so serious. I'm like, dang,
Hmm.
I'm the type of learner where I gotta make mistakes quite a few times. And a lot of people take their trains and trios serious. So I'm like, nah, it's cool. I'll just watch, maybe work with somebody on like a really light day. But yeah, I
Same.
don't know. It's interesting because like you could easily do that in Cleveland. Like, oh, people can be really specific about certain routines or certain steps too. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's yeah.
So the way that you skate that I've seen tends to pay homage to the past, and yet again you ooze personal style, like you've been saying, which is clearly kind of a Cleveland trademark, like you've been saying. What are your thoughts on balancing and honoring skate history while moving skating forward?
I think it's super important now more than ever because I frequently talk to some of the OGs back in Cleveland, and they're really like hounding knowing the history. So like, Cleveland freestyle started in like the 60s and 70s by this guy named OG Bosco, and there's a whole routine named after him. So when I'm in New York and someone wants to know about Cleveland, that's one of the first routines I show them because that's like paying homage to like OG Bosco. So that's like super important. And that's one of the first routines you just learn in Cleveland. Doesn't matter what crew you're in. Um, and so I actually had the opportunity to learn from another OG named OG Ty or TY. And he was just like teaching me a little bit of the history about the slides, the jumps that Cleveland freestyle is obviously known for. And it was like, okay, you got to make sure that like everybody knows the history of like Bill Butler and like House, New Jersey. People know the history of like how JB started. So we got to treat Cleveland just like that. We got to be like, okay, not everybody, when Cleveland freestyle started, you couldn't just join it. You had to actually be um, like chosen. Like one of the OGs had to come to you and then teach you. Whereas like now, I mean, you can just get on Instagram, type in Cleveland skate or whatever, and start to learn it. So like it's little tidbits like that that I think are interesting. Um, but there's also crews and people in Cleveland that necessarily are like, yeah, the old school is cool, but we're trying to reinvent that. And that's a cool approach too. I just think for me, I want to be able to know who started this and then mix it up. So I chop it up with the old school crews and the new crews, like, and then I just kind of try and learn a little bit about both from each of them because ultimately we're all creating like the Cleveland history.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I wonder also if you could speak to if there's anything you feel like is maybe missing from, I guess, either of those scenes, something you maybe want to see more of um, in either or both scenes.
Okay, well, starting with Cleveland. So, I'd be pretty removed from, Cleveland because I don't actually be there every Sunday, Tuesday, or Thursday. But something I didn't realize is how much like kind of beef or like not even beef, but people kind of don't rock with each other there. Like the city is a little bit more divided instead of like united. And I personally like the approach of like, yo, when we go and travel somewhere, like we all should wear like the same tee. We should have a few routines that we all do together. Like, let's rock out. Like, let's all be together. So like when I kind of hear that certain people don't rock with people, I'm like, dang, like I get it, but at the same time, it's like, man, we could be so much stronger all together, especially when it comes to skating. And I'm sure that kind of happens everywhere, but that's really the one thing.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's anything in New York that you want to see too in the culture here.
Yeah, it's funny because this is like, man, I could definitely talk about this. So it's like let me break it down to you for someone from the Midwest. Our BPM range, which is like this is the tempo that we BPMs like beats per minute or basically how fast the song is. In the Midwest, you might, it might be like 90 might be the max. Maybe you might get a song that's like 95, 100 BPM, which is like a house-esque song. 90 could be 85 to 90 could be like fast backwards or something. So um when I like let's just say I'm going to skate in Long Island, right? And the set is 3 hours. I know that when I get there at 8:30, there might be a warm up for like 15, 20 minutes of, and that could be music that is semi fast. But really, out of that whole 3 hour set, I'm not gonna get a Cleveland or Midwest or Atlanta style of tempo or music until about 10:30, right? So that means at 8:30, I'll go there and warm up for about 30 minutes just because I want to get my legs like warmed up. But then after that, if I want to hear something from my region, that doesn't start till the slow set around 10:30ish. And then from there, they'll play the slow set. Some of the songs could be normally I have an idea of when it's gonna end, I know what song they're gonna transition into. And then I know which R&B songs they'll probably play for the next 5 minutes. Then they'll play a little bit of Atlanta style music. Maybe they'll play some Chicago style music. And by then, it's like 10:45, 11 p.m. They're already back to the same tempo as like New York, right? That's Long Island. Now, if I go to New Jersey on a Sunday night, past few times I went there from 9 to like I think it was what 8 to 12 maybe. Um, Last time I went there, they may have played like warm up slower music. When I say slow, I don't mean like R&B like slow music. I mean just like some rap music or something that's like 70 BP or 80 BPMs, 85 BPMs, something like that. You might get some of that within the first 30 minutes. But by then, like when I went 2 Sundays ago, it was a straight house, like classics and house music from 9 o'clock for the rest of the night. So from 9 to 12, it was literally just that. And my roommate and I, we went out there and we're like, dang, this is Memorial Day skate. Memorial skate was, I think, 9 to 1. So there was an extra hour of time. So we were like, yo, there's no way. We know we're gonna get a slow set. We're gonna get some rap. We couldn't believe that the whole night went by. We didn't get one slow set. We didn't get no JV music. We didn't get no, they didn't even play no DMV music, which is like snap music. So it's like a pretty good pace of music. And so we were just like, that's the one thing I'm like, dang, it doesn't matter where I go to. We rent a car, we take the train late at night, and we don't even get it. Like, if we do get a little bit, you know what I'm saying? 20 minutes out of a 3 hour session ain't really worth it. But we love skating so much that we just do it anyway. Right. And what kills me is that there's people in the New York area that love JB. They love snap music. They love slow sets, and they want to learn the Cleveland freestyle and the Ohio stride. So it's like, yo, if these people want to learn this, the only way to really learn it and really become a part of that style is to hear the music. So it's like, dang, You see people, you see New Yorkers JBing. It only makes sense that at some point you play a JB set,
Yeah.
or you see them wanting a stride. It makes sense to play an Ohio stride like set. It's like there's people in New York that want to learn these styles, but there's not a skate session dedicated for any of that. I'm not saying we need to make it like an hour out of a time, but dang, 20 minutes from slow set back into the fast music is crazy. So like that's one of my biggest things about New York is like you kind of more or less hear the same sounds wherever you go. So it would be nice. There's a lot of opportunities to skate, whether you're indoor or outdoors. It'd be nice if we had at least one session that was kind of more catered to a national skate jam sound. And when I say national skate jam, it's like when you go to a national skate jam, like Skateathon, for example, you're gonna hear house, you're gonna hear JB, you're gonna hear West Coast, you're gonna hear DMV music, you're gonna hear Florida music, you're gonna hear everything. And that's how I thought New York City would be when I moved here, because it's like the melting pot of the world. So there's melting pot of skaters here, right? So I was just like, dang, I wish there was a session that was more catered to national skate vibes. The closest I've found is um, Thursdays at DJ Dream's set. His was solid, but again, it was like 20 to 30 minutes max. And dealing with the tolls and renting a car or taking a train, it's like, dang, we doing a lot just for 20 minutes. That's kind of the same thing when we go to Massapequa on Mondays at Arson. But I always come back to Dream and Arson, and even Josh Lemonade, he's starting to get sets. I go to them because they give me, even if it's 20 or 30 minutes, I will go to them faithfully. I'll spend the $80 to rent a car. I'll spend the 3 extra hours it takes to ride the train at 2 a.m. to go to Branchbrook. I'll go there and skate with them because those are the three DJs that will definitely like, I know I'm gonna get a slow set. I know I'm gonna hear JB. They're gonna shout me out because they see me doing my Ohio stuff. So they're gonna play Cleveland and Columbus
I love
music.
that.
So
Yeah.
that's my biggest thing. And I know it sounds crazy, but
It's not though.
I have skaters that tell me personally, really?
Yeah, because in the shop, like people are they give feedback all the time about the predominance of house music and how they want to hear something else. Like if
Yeah.
I had $1 for every time a customer said that, I'd have a lot of dollars.
And really,
Yeah.
like what you're talking about, I think is also just like an attunement to who's actually in the community. Like you're saying, right? Like someone sees what you're doing, a DJ sees what you're doing, people see what you're doing. It's like, okay, well, how can we be a little more inclusive about what this is? And so, yeah, you're talking about like an attunement between the people that are running the shit and the people who are actually in the community, which I think is really important, whether it's about the
Yeah.
music played or other needs that are being met or unmet in the community.
Yeah, that's super important. That's like last year, I spent a lot of my time trying to get New Yorkers that I would meet at Brooklyn Skates to like, yo, like, let's go to this skate jam. Like, let's go to RITC. Let's go to For the Love of Skating. Let's do this because if we can get more New Yorkers to experience outside of New York, then it's gonna be like, dang, I want those vibes here in New York. Like, how can we do that? Because we've all had those combos. I got people that text me all the time, like, dang, like I need New York to step it up. I just came back from this event and I love this style of music. New Yorkers want to do St. Louis ballroom, but we don't hear ballroom music. So you can't really do ballroom to, whatever you hear. So um yeah, people they'll come up to me like, yeah, I want to hear like, yo, teach me that, routine you're doing. And I'm like, I got you. Like I can show you the steps now. When they play the real music, let's do it. But people like to come up to me when the rap music or the JV music is actually playing. And I'm like, yo, I only get 10 minutes of this music. I can't really show you anything right now because I gotta take advantage of my moment. Y'all
Yeah.
like people, they'll have their whole night. And then they try and come up to me and want to learn something when I got my 10-minute or 20-minute time frame. I'm like, yo, I got you. Just hold on, like whatever. I just think about the first time when I first started going to Brooklyn Skates, and they was looking at me like I was an alien there because the slow music, like when I went to Brooklyn Skates in 2019, nobody was like dipping or anything like that. That's like a famous like R&B like skate movement. Nobody was doing that. And I just started doing it and other people started like, "Oh, how do you do that?" Like they wanted to learn. I'm like, "I got you if they play a slow set. If if they play a slow set, like I can show you, but it's not really a move you do to house or classic or rap music. You normally do that to like 70 BPM kind of song, like uh like Poppin' by Chris Brown or something like that. I don't know. That's like a ring classic that they play, but like that kind of tempo was perfect. So of course that was the same thing for when I started doing jumps and slides, which is like Cleveland freestyle hallmarks.
So, speaking to people looking at you like an alien at Brooklyn Skates, like you're saying, um, would you be open to discussing times that you've challenged the expectations of house rules or of a skate space?
Um, well, are you talking like, okay, so I pull up to a rink, I'm doing my style, and they get upset or something,
Yeah.
and it's like, all right, well, okay, cool, okay, I got you. So it's funny because when I first started doing like, so Cleveland freestyle in a nutshell is like it's really focused on footwork, slides, and jumps. The jumps are like 360s, 180s, 540s. They're doing 720s now. They're even doing 900s.
Damn.
So it's a combination of all those things. Yeah, it's crazy, man. There's some really good people that do it, but um, so there's a few things. We Cleveland freestyle, you wear Fomax, and Fomax are there's three levels, and we mainly use harmonies and premieres, and those are like like some of the hardest wheels you can skate in. It's not like the New York wheel, the All Americans or the Vanathane wheels. It's like a synthetic clay. So when you, let's just say you do a slight stomp, it's gonna make a sound. It's gonna make a loud clack noise, and that's like one of our trademark sounds. So when I first started going Brooklyn skates and doing some stomps and doing some jumps and sliding in those, people was like, "Why are you skating so hard?" And it was like, what wheels do you have on? And it was more passive aggressive then, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't really like I would experience, some of the older skaters would get scared around me, but I never hurt anybody. I never made anyone fall. Um, but it was more passive aggressiveness. And then last summer was the first time I actually got told like, hey, if you keep doing this, you're gonna get kicked out. So like, and basically what happened was I went to like everyone knows me. Like if you skate around me, like you might get a little scared if you're not used to it. But for the most part, everyone knows I'm a defensive skater for sure. So basically, I went to Massapequa and it was during the summertime. I didn't go with my roommate, so I went with just two of my like good friends at the time, and so I was kind of skating solo. Every bad experience I've had, I was always skating solo. I was the
Damn.
only one doing Cleveland freestyle there. So I was skating around. This is one of my highlights of my skate night. I was having a good time. And like it was to the point where people were following me. They were following me around, recording me, hyping me up. And which is like common when I go to certain rinks. Like people would start trying 180s and then start stomping and jumping. So there's people following me. Even the skate guards are skating next to me, stomping and jumping and hyping me up.
Whoa.
And then like that whole night, I didn't skate until 10:30. 10:30 came on, they started the R&B. Then around 10:40-ish, the rap was starting. And that's when I just described like everyone was following me. And then like maybe like 5-10 minutes later, one of the skate refs came up to me and was like, yo, like, I know you're in the bag, I know you're doing your thing, but if you continue to skate like this, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Like, we're not him, but we're gonna have to ask you to leave. And I was just like, whoa, wait, what? Like, wait, what
It
do
was
you
coming
mean?
from
Like,
management.
why can't I do this? Yeah, so he told me apparently like somebody had complained and it wasn't necessarily the skate guard's orders, but security had said I would, get kicked out if I kept skating how I was supposed to or how I was. And I did like one lap just not even skating, and then I got off the floor because it really, you just imagine you're having the best time of your life. Like for me, remember, we only get about 20-30 minutes of our actual, to do my real style. So that instantly killed my vibe. And when I was leaving, I was talking to the DJ, and he was like, "Yeah, that's how they skate out there, man. Like that's how they skate in Ohio. So you like, to tell them they can't do their style is crazy." And it really came down to like, yeah, maybe one of the older skaters, I don't know, but maybe one of the older skaters that were there were a little nervous or something, and they made a complaint. And from there, I was just like, dang. So I made a post on Instagram, and I was just like, yo, in some ways, that's like discrimination, because just because I don't skate this particular style doesn't mean that I have to like to tell me I can't. Like, it's either if I keep doing this, I'm getting kicked out, and no one's gotten hurt, and I've skated that same way at your place thousands of times, was crazy. And I had a lot of people that was like, they were on my side, and I wasn't necessarily trying to cancel anybody or do anything. I simply just told my experience. And I was sad that I didn't have anybody like my roommate with me or people that did the style, because if you have more people with you, they're not gonna like, it's harder to stop a group of people from doing something versus one person. And so I didn't go back there for weeks. And then one time I was just like, man, I really need a good skate session. I like Arson's set. So I went, and the security guard that had told me, like, yeah, you can't be doing this, he came up to me and was like, yo, management seeing your post, like, blah, blah, blah. And he was basically trying to just like apologize for like treating me that way and like whatever. And then he was like giving me a pep talk about like, yeah, like, when you skate out here, you gotta, give it your all and show out, because people are hating and people are watching. I'm like, man, you switching up now, basically. It's like, dang, like
Yeah.
I needed this support that same day. Like, so it was like that was one of the first times that like, and it's a common thing for Cleveland skaters. Cleveland people have experienced this all the time. And so that's what goes into the style kind of being the bad boy thing. It's like, I mean, I rock with it. Honestly, that makes me want to do it even more, for real. But yeah, that was the very first time. Um, that was the very first time that happened. And then I had another experience earlier this year at Brooklyn Skates. I'm just being fully transparent. So yeah, Brooklyn Skates, I've been a long time supporter since 2019, giving them my $10 every week, even if I didn't like the DJ, if I didn't like the music. But we're at this new venue now, and basically I'm skating my style. And the guard, no, it wasn't. So one of the staff members came up to me and was just like, nah, you know what it was? It was an event that I helped put together for somebody's going away party, right?
Mm.
The owner had came up to me of Brooklyn Skates and told me like, hey, you can't keep jumping in here, you got to stop. And it wasn't him like trying to make me stop. It was the owner of the school, the principal or whatever. He was saying that I had to stop jumping, and that killed my vibe. It took my skates off. And I was just like, dude, I've been coming to Brooklyn Skates for years. Y'all have never had a problem with me jumping now. And that's why I had to sit and think, it's like, okay, it's not the owner of Brooklyn Skates, it's the owner of the school. And we're on wood floors. So me jumping ain't hurting the floor. Maybe it was a liability thing. But yeah, that killed my vibe, because I'm like, yo, where can I skate? Like, there ain't nowhere else to skate if they just keep on like stopping me. Like, I really might have to just learn house and the classic like partner skating and stuff. And I mean, those were the two biggest times. And like, it did happen a third time at Brooklyn Skates. And I was just like, you know what? Y'all gonna have to kick me out. Like, when he came up to me and told me I gotta stop skating, I was like, I've been coming here for too long and skating the same way. Y'all just gotta kick me out. And the staff member was kind of overwhelmed by that. And he was like, okay. And I just kept skating, and nobody said anything to me the rest of the night. So I'm at that point now where if they're gonna kick me out, like if they're gonna say something, yo, you just gonna have to throw me out the rink, man. Cause I give y'all too much money. We get zip cars and travel once or twice a week sometimes to go to these skate, like just to go to Branch Brook or Massapequa. So if I'm spending $80 to come and see you, you gonna have to drag me out that rink, bro. I'm like, that's my attitude now. Like, so those are the two things that's just like, dang, that really showed me some styles aren't accepted everywhere, and it's a common thing. But just always reminds me of like tactics that white rinks used to do to black skaters in like the 60s and 70s. If you didn't have toe stops, or if you had certain wheels, you can't skate here. And it was like, maybe that's an extreme, sure, like saying that that's what it's compared to today, but we can't act like those types of segregation tactics, we can't act like we're so far removed from that.
Well, and some
And
rinks still
again, you
do
go
that.
to any of these skate jams, they don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah,
They
there's plenty
definitely
of
do.
rinks that
It's
still
just
are like
like,
you gotta have toe
yeah,
stops
we
for
have
them.
our urban night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like certain wheels, certain stuff, and it's like, dude, it's not like,
Yeah.
okay, not using a toe stop or a jam plug and just having the metal exposed. Yes, that actually really will like ruin this our wood floor. Um, but yeah, it's just very reminiscent of 60s, 70s, like rinks trying to keep black people from participating or only giving us one night or something like that.
Yeah. This kind of brings up a question too that I think we both have been kind of curious about in terms of kind of how you show up in the space and like both like kind of like your brand and like some of the stuff that you've shared even now. What do you think of like this idea of like keeping politics out of the rink when so often the personal is political? I feel like that's something I've heard from some people in New York, especially like some of the older folks, and it's kind of like, what do you mean by that? I guess we're wondering how you feel on that stance.
Dude, I think it's hard to like you're saying politics as in like when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on during COVID, like those kind of politics or politics about like sexuality and stuff like that, keeping that out of the ring.
Yeah, like it seems like some people kind of want to keep that separate, from skating culture in some ways. But it's like if you're talking about people who are part of the skate community who are feeling affected by stuff, I know like for us at least, like we can, like, I know Jasmine can speak to like patriarchal shit, right? Like it's
For
like
sure.
women are treated really differently in these spaces too. And it's like, how can you talk about, at least from our perspective, it's like, how can you kind of talk about leaving that stuff out of the space when it like directly impacts the community members in the space, kind of? But I think, we're just thinking like based on
Yeah,
how you've shared before, we're curious about like what your stance on that is and kind of how you feel about it if you're comfortable sharing.
dude, I think it's hard. You can't now you 100% can't separate those. I mean, skating is too widespread now to think that narrow-minded. I think it's just like you can't fix toxic environments if you continue to ignore the problems. And I've witnessed like not even from my own experience, I've witnessed other people have to go through whatever politics at the rink, and I think that you got to stand up and you got to speak out against. Um, you got to respect people's space. You got to respect people's stance or viewpoints, and how they show up to the rink. Like I don't ever want to make anybody else feel uncomfortable, and so I want to try and create a new a new skate experience where it's like, nah, politics and skating have to coexist nowadays because otherwise we're going to keep allowing the same predatory behavior to exist in skating.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I feel like it can be especially tricky here in the city. The political conundrum that is Eric Adams and all that that sort of represents. And just there's, a lot of folks in the skating community that have a different perspective on policing and respectability politics.
Nah, I mean, I understand completely. That's the hard part here specifically. In other communities, I can even say back in Cleveland too, is like, at the end of the day, the powers that kind of oversee skating are still very much like elderly or just older black people,
Yeah.
and their mindsets are not aligned with the younger generation, right? So it's I've been thinking about that lately because I have a friend that's running something called Respect My Space
Oh
Alliance, and
yeah,
it's like,
Kenny.
Kenny.
yeah, Kenny. So it's just like, yo, I rock with the movement, and it's like, okay, you can't really change like a OG or an old head's mind when it comes to this stuff. It's really hard to. So it's just like, how can we create this safe space for skaters? Whether I'm talking safe space in all aspects. It's like, how can we? It's just a hard thing to try and navigate, and it's like, okay, I know there's been instances at Brooklyn Skates where there was a woman only skate, and then they play like twerking music. It's like, man, the old like they just don't understand like times are not like then. Like people they identify differently now, and you can't tell them how to feel about that. So my perspective was like, yo, just let them rock out. They're not bugging nobody or anything. But the old school people don't view it that way. And I think the only way for roller skating to continue to go on is if it adapts to the generation coming after it. And so if we're not creating these spaces for the new generation to feel comfortable, then it's gonna die out basically. You can't, like, we're becoming too progressive. And so skating has to, it's not even just skating, it's all subcultures. It has to evolve with it and become progressive as well. Otherwise, people aren't gonna like support it, or they're gonna do their own thing. They're gonna, like, respect my space is a reaction because of being like, because of rink atmospheres not progressing with the next generation. So it's either the old structures are gonna fall, or and then that forces us to create new structures, or there's a middle ground and we find a way to coexist.
Yeah, and I've brought this up with other folks in conversations on the podcast where it's wild to me that we're in New York City and we don't have a rink, and I feel like, yeah, I feel like part of the reason why that's the case is that resistance to progression and that resistance to even something like unity and inclusivity. And I just feel like it could be this enormous thing, but it just somehow is stagnating and staying small.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. From that viewpoint, it's just like the only way, like, you can't open up a rink in the city and not be inclusive towards all communities. Like, this is again the melting pot of the world, you know? Like, so I, that's why it's like, yo, the younger generation, I don't, it sounds bad, but it's almost like you can't change the older generation, so just let them do their thing. And then it's like the next generation, we are just creating our own opportunities. And that's like, that's one way to do it. But yeah, it's, I don't know, I don't know the right solve, but as long as people are trying to be a solution, and you know, it can be as simple as having a combo. Like, I feel like I'm cool enough with some of the like OGs or older generation of skaters to where it's like, yo, we could have this conversation. It's like, look, part of the reason why we're struggling or you're struggling is because, you know, we got to make people feel safe here. Like, it has to be a safe space. Can't be predators here. We can't be making, telling people how they identify and stuff like that. We have to make people feel safe. And if no one's harming anybody, then who cares what they're, you know, what they identify as, or what songs they want to go out and skate to, you know? Like, I mean, I know those are kind of base level things, but those base level things, if those get solved, that helps solve bigger problems as well.
Yeah, and I feel like having folks like you present in the space is the beginning of moving forward because you're willing to have those difficult conversations. And not everybody is ready to do that or able to do that depending on their situation. I know sometimes I personally feel really intimidated like dealing with like older cis men who are already like hitting on me and literally asking me where I live while I'm trying to skate, you know?
Yeah, and that's insane. I hate that when you go through that because I have like some close skaters who have similar experiences. Like, I have friends that have just started and they told me like they're not even like, they're really just starting, and they tell me about like men coming up to them, older men. I'm like, look, let me know anytime somebody does that, because I will go up to them and say something. I, you know, I'm not gonna be like, yo, I'm about to beat you up, but like, yo, this is my
Yeah.
friend or whatever. Like, can you leave her alone? She's feeling a little X, Y, and Z or something. It's like, I anyone that has mentioned anything weird, like weird happening to them, I tell them like, yo, let me know next time that happens, because that's really one of the only ways to, like, it sounds sad, but that's kind of one of the first primary ways. And I don't, to like stop this. And I don't mind having that convo because as y'all have seen with some of my work in the past, is like it's all about having those hard conversations anyways. It's all about respectable confrontation. So like I don't mind doing that. But I get it. Like it's a tough thing to even approach somebody with like, hey, this happened to me. But
Yeah.
I try to make sure that everyone knows like, hey, you can come to me and let me know who's doing X, Y, and Z, and I'll say something. I don't care. Like that's just how it is.
Well, I appreciate that for sure. We need more people like you in the space.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because I've done some organizing in the past, and it is really tricky because on the one hand, it's like you got to have a strong enough relationship with someone to be able to say something to them to really like get through to them and to get them to kind of like change your mind. And there's some people where it's
Yes.
like maybe that relationship is there, or maybe you could build that relationship over time in the interest of having those conversations. But more often than not, the people that are needing to do that are the people who are being affected. So it becomes really like difficult kind of to know, where that line is. And in some ways it's a line that you can kind of only name for yourself. Like if you're the affected individual, again, like Jasmine being like, sometimes I don't have the capacity to like say shit to anybody. And then sometimes it is like, okay, then where are the places where we can also kind of plug in as allies, like people who maybe are not affected by that. I know I've kind of said similar things, or I've just been like, I'll go and pretend I'm your boyfriend or whatever, like we'll just skate together, like whatever we got to do.
Right,
But
right.
like, but it is hard. And I think it's like, yeah, I don't know if there is like a good, like quote unquote solution, like blanket solution, but I think it is exactly like y'all are saying about kind of building those relationships, trying to bridge those gaps, like all just like continue to humanize each other and just kind of be like, look, like we're all here for really similar reasons, and this is skating, and the community is valuable to a lot of us for a lot of
Literally.
similar reasons. So how can we kind of make that a thing? And yeah, I don't know if there is like a one solution as much as like many small solutions, and the willingness of a lot of us to just keep kind of showing up as we can. And like you're saying, building new spaces or kind of trying to create opportunities, for ourselves, for sure.
Yeah. I has to be a mixture of both, because it's like, you don't want the old structures that are like, in some ways historical gems to just like fall out. But like you also have to recognize too, like, yo, if it's not working, then you just gotta, build your own thing. But yeah, I'm with you. Those small things definitely go a long way. And shoot, I know I've done the same thing too. It's like, all right, yo, they talk to you again, just give me a look and I'll pull up and just say something to you. Like, hey, like, oh yeah, but blah blah blah. Or like, yo, let's do this routine. And it's like, okay, there. It's those little things, but like people will like they'll start to get the message.
Yeah. It is so comforting to have those people around, because I've personally had moments like that at Brooklyn Skates where Jay and Donna have swooped in to protect me. So shout out to Jay and Donna for swooping in and protecting me.
Yo, big shout out to Jay and Donna.
Forever.
Seriously, Jay always looks out. Donna always looks out. Jay even understands like my struggles of, when I spoke earlier about the music thing, like Jay understands. And so that's why I'm like, man, you can't give up on that, like that place, for example, because there are good people in there.
Yeah.
So it's just like trying to figure out the resolve. It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah, so I'm going to abruptly change topics, as I often do in these podcasts.
Let's go.
Just switching it up.
Look, it's fine. Shoot whatever at me.
Yeah. So I want to change the mood a little bit too and talk about something a little more fun. And you've done some pretty cool things over the course of the past few years. Experiences that maybe weren't open to roller skaters in the past. Recently, you modeled at New York Fashion Week on roller skates. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yo, that was such a random thing. Shout out to Amy from Butter Roll / the shop NYC. She's the one who actually put me in contact with for the opportunity. She just reached out to me and was like, yo, I thought of you, thought you'd be a good fit for this. They need some roller skaters for this New York Fashion Week show. And last year I kind of really started thinking about actually trying to model in some space, whether it be streetwear or, if there is a space for me in like runway type vibes. and this was like that first opportunity to do that. So it was really cool. It was for Victor Gmod, Gmode, maybe. Not sure how to pronounce it correctly, but um yeah, like I was like, yeah, let me do it. Like, and it was actually paid too. So I was like, this is cool. And so I left work in the middle of the day to go to the casting to give them my measurements. You know, they had the cliche like photo board, and they had one of my Instagram photos like on a sheet. And I was like, yo, this is pretty legit. So then literally 2 days later, on like I think it was like a Saturday, at Flippers roller boogie palace, like mad early, getting makeup put on me, getting a manicure and stuff. I'm like, yo,
Whoa.
this is crazy. I was like, yo, this is pretty fire. They just had me in like a pair of like they were kind of like leggings in a way, but it wasn't like Nike spandex leggings. It was like I don't know. It was just like some quality like high end like athleisure stuff. Um, and I was like, yo, I'm just gonna make sure that when we actually go out there, we didn't have no choreography, we didn't have nothing to practice. They were just like, look, put on these slipper skates. We had to take the toe stoppers off them. I think some of us loosened the trucks a little because these are all like stock skates.
Sure.
And it was like, okay, look like you guys love each other, like look like you're having the greatest time in the world. And I'm like, you got skaters. It was like maybe 8 of us. You got skaters of all different levels. Some people who have been skating for less than a year, some people have been skating for multiple years. And they're just telling us to just like look happy. I'm like, man, we gonna try and do whatever. Like, so we went out there, and I mean, people seemed to love it. Like, I think we brought a whole bunch of life to the show, but my roommate was there, and one of my good friends from college, and they was trying to tell me to do a 540 or to do some 360s. I'm like, I don't even. I last thing I want to do is fall during the show. So, because like I had never skated in flipper skates before, and we were confined to like they split the rink into 2 halves. And if you've been to flippers, it's a small rink. So then imagine it's cut into 2. There's models walking around 2 squares, and we're skating inside those 2 squares. So I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do no jumps or nothing. I'm just gonna. I did a Cleveland shuffle a little bit. I may have did like a couple of 180s and a couple 360s, but I kept it real light because I was like, nah, let me not ruin this man's moment. But it was a really fun experience. I would love to do it again. I would love to do it off skates as well because I think it's funny. Now that I have an afro and long hair, as soon as you have an afro and you put on a remotely 70s outfit or put on roller skates, people just gravitate towards it. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do this. And I mean, we're gonna have a good time. I'll give you what you need. Like as long as I can, I always sprinkle a little bit of Cleveland stuff in there. But I think I even strided too a little bit, which is like I said, Columbus stuff. But I'm gonna find a way to have a good time and bring you something different that nobody else can.
Before I go full tilt into the design questions, because I do have a lot of design questions for you. Recently, you participated in a workshop with Smooth Goddess at Flippers. Can you tell
Mm-hmm.
us what that experience was like in her Inspired by Favor JB workshop?
So I actually didn't do the workshop that was at Flippers,
Oh,
but I
damn.
did it last year. Yeah, I know. I That day was a really busy day for me, so I couldn't actually skate. But I have done her workshop. I did it in Memphis last year at Southern Roll, and I have only good things to say about her. It was, like for example, like I said, everybody in New York is trying to learn how to JB right now, right? And my philosophy when it comes to learning styles is you have to go to the source. If I want to learn house or partner skating, I'm going to New York. But since I want to learn JB, Smooth Goddess is one of those people that's who you learn. So I took her class when I was in Memphis, and like I knew a little bit about JB prior, but that workshop helped me sharpen up what I thought I knew. Like I didn't approach it like, oh, I already know this. Just give me my whatever. I was like, nah, I approached it with a blank slate and just working with her and she has some really nice staff members that help too. and they just helped me get like my standing man right. They helped me get my short step and long step right. Like the it's a good fundamentals JB class, and of course they taught some routines as well. My only thing is, I wish that I could have like recorded some stuff so that I could practice it on my own. Because some of the routines I know I've forgotten. I remember a lot of the fundamental moves, but that's one of those things where I just need to go back to Chicago, or if whenever she comes back to New York, take some of those things. But yeah, she was cool. I was giving her one of the shirts that I did, and she had commented on somebody's video like, "I love the shirt." So I was like, hopefully she remembers meeting me last year in Memphis, because I like took a Polaroid of her and her friend. And yeah, only good things to say about her. She's one of those like pure organic like souls in skating. It's not about clout or anything for her. It's truly about the love of skating and spreading the joy that comes from skating.
That's so cool. On to your brand. Can you tell us a little bit about your brand in general and what a typical day working as a designer is like for you?
So the brand aspect really, so the last year I've been trying to like shape up the vision of what is Elijah Justice. And I went through the route of trying to create fictitious brand names. Like used to like the brand was originally called Lost Legends. Then I got a cease and desist letter after getting featured on a big magazine. So I had to step all the way back. I came up with a second name, and I was just like, yo, if I'm the one doing all this design work, I should just name it after me. Nobody can take my name because it's just my name. So the last 2 years, I've kind of been trying to figure out what is Elijah Justice as a brand. And really what it comes down to is it's narratives. Like basically I take inspiration from my childhood interests and cultural experiences from somebody growing up in the Midwest. And then I tell informative stories through clothing with that. So, if I'm doing a t-shirt that is like about Dennis Rodman, well, growing up in the Midwest, Chicago Bulls, you knew about the Jordan's team and the reign that they did. And as a Black kid growing up in the Midwest, seeing a man like Dennis who presented himself as like, yeah, I'm this tough, the best defensive player in the NBA, but I'm also wearing a halter top or I'm wearing a crop top. Like it showed the duality of what a man can actually be. It's not just this one set way. And so now the brand is shaping to be, yeah, it's telling my own interests. If I go hiking with some friends in the like on the western side of the country, and then I want to tell that story, I'm gonna do that through clothing, and it's gonna be about like I'm gonna look at old hiking material. I'm gonna take pictures, and I'm gonna use those photos in the designs, and then create a hiking inspired collection just like that. So once I started approaching design that way, it made things a lot easier instead of just like one-offs. So like the self-care collection was literally just, how did I feel during COVID? My mother was sick. They had found like a cancerous problem with her, and luckily they removed it. And then I went through a breakup as well. So the idea of self-care was like my steps to getting through those two big important life events, on top of, hello, the world is in a pandemic. So
Yeah.
the collection was just about that journey of healing and that journey of really taking care of yourself and making sure you're good. Once I started thinking about the brand that way, it became easier to design collections, and it also became easier to develop a brand identity. But in terms of life as a graphic designer, I mean, I work for like a pretty big cultural magazine. I won't name drop them, but I'm a senior designer there, and I work from home. So I'll get out of bed at like 9:50, sometimes 10 o'clock, right on the dot, open up my computer and get to work. But my goal since moving to New York City was to be able to learn from companies that are in the fields I want to be in so that I can apply it to my clothing brand. And that so also I can provide design services to people back in Ohio or communities in New York that can't afford the prestigious high-end luxury branding agency. Well, I work for those companies and I know how to create high polished professional stuff, I can help you and give it to you for a less price just because like I have a job that pays well. And so I'm not pressed about making a bunch of money from you. I mean, yeah, pay me a little, but I'm gonna give you like I've done branding for certain roller skaters in the community at a phenomenally like cheap price just because it's like, look, if you go to an agency, they don't charge you a lot. And I love skating and I love design that much that I'm just gonna help you out. Or I've done merch for people that weren't skaters just for a cheaper price because it's like I can give you that professional stuff and for a less price and help you get to where they're at, basically. Like that's always my goal. It's like LeBron didn't win a championship in Cleveland until he went to Miami, learned how to win, then came back to Cleveland, had that miracle 3-1 deficit comeback win. Like that's my mindset for moving to New York. It's like learn how to be a really great designer and give that resource and talent to people who need it.
I love that so
I feel like I'm
much.
going in tangents, so I'm sorry.
No, that was beautiful.
Yeah, no, I think that speaks to just kind of, in some ways, the heart of who you are. It sounds like in the ways that community is really important to you. And even, I'm reflecting on like what you said about Cleveland, how some people don't like hang out with each other and there's kind of factions and stuff. And it seems like for you, working together and like being committed to community is really important. And it's cool to hear about how that is something that is also present in your work life, and in your brand as well.
Yes, it's super important. I didn't realize it really until these last few years. Like I just didn't realize how important, like how prominent it was in my life until it was literally in the middle of the field, like doing it.
That makes me think of one of your recent drops. You recently put out your Put Down Hate and Let's Skate shirt design. And those shirts hit several points that I associate with you as a designer and a skater: reverence for history, social justice, community, and giving back. Can you speak to what the designs reference and what you're raising funds for?
Yes. So so the idea really came from I watched this documentary called United Skates. Like when I first moved to New York City, I got to see it in theaters, got to meet the director, which is super random at the time. And really, there's a in the documentary they're talking about how during the civil rights era period, how black people were intentionally kept out of rinks. They they were cut down to one night of skating for like urban nights and stuff like that. And there was this photograph that they showed by a photographer named Richard Abdon, maybe might be saying his name wrong, but he's like a um, fashion slash like journalist photographer. And it was just a really strong photo of this like black male holding a sign that said like he's outside a rink and it just says like put down hate and let's skate. And I guess this was like a civil rights demonstration in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I was like, yo, this is a strong photograph. This is a strong message. And it doesn't have to just be about skating. Whatever community you're part of, it's about putting down hate and ultimately joining as one and having fun. So I wanted to basically pay homage not only to that, but like, reinterpret it a little. Some people might be like, oh, he just stole whatever X, Y, and Z, but that's not really the message here. It's really about like I did my own play. I used the nostalgic, playful typography that is starting to become a brand identity for Elijah Justice. And I paired it with these fun colored tees and fun, bright yellow typography. And so you can't ignore that message. And did a nice little video that had snippets of Cleveland roller skating, Columbus roller skating, old Empire footage, and made like a promo trailer for it. And all that is to basically, for every sale that's done with a t-shirt, I'm gonna take a portion of the profits and donate Harmony Fomac wheels to Cleveland junior roller skaters. My goal is to at least be able to buy 2 sets. Realistically, I know I'm coming out of pocket of this. I know that I'm not gonna profit anything off of it, and that's fine because again, like I said earlier, like I do have a job that allows me to invest into ideas like this. So I'm using that resource to give back. And it's like, yo, I can't physically be in Cleveland right now, but I've built this community in New York. These people genuinely like me. I genuinely like them. Let's work together to get back to my hometown. There's a bunch of opportunities in New York City to get New York City kids roller skating, but there's not as many opportunities in Cleveland. So these shirt sales are helping get, you know, I told you, Fomax are super important in Cleveland. And if you're like junior skaters or kids that are people under 18. So I may not know exactly who doesn't have Fomax, but there's a skate event going on in July by one of the prominent like OG skate crews in Cleveland called Elite Squad, and the event is called Loyal to the Wood. So I reached out to the guy named Ivory and was just like, hey, I want to donate some wheels during this event. It might only be, one boy, one girl or something like that. But because I mean, the wheels are like $110. So they're definitely not cheap. But if I can donate maybe 2 or 3 wheels to kids who don't have Fomax at this event, that would be so cool. And it would just be like, yeah, why not do that? I mean, even if I end up paying most of my own money, that's fine. It's better than me just continuing to buy clothes or go on another trip or something. Might as well continue to bring the next group of skaters in, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely a worthy pursuit.
Speaking of that, actually, it sounds like you have worked with kids before in skate and design spaces alike. It seems like you're pretty like candid with them about making admissions that like you didn't necessarily like art, and like kind of here you are as a designer. What do you hope to convey to younger generation?
Honestly, so when I go and speak to those middle schoolers about design, I tell them straight up, yo, I hated art. I grew up, I did not like design. The only thing I liked was literally just like I went to private school, so we wore uniforms. The only thing I could customize was my shoes. That was my intro to design. So I tell them like, hey, you may not like art right now, but you never know. You could end up being like me in full-fledged design, doing art stuff every day. It's like, yo, you never know. That's just how life goes. Like I used to just scribble outside the lines just to finish my projects. And now like this is what I do. So, I genuinely my goal is to work with some kids that are in like juvenile detention centers or something like that, because sometimes I feel like those are the kids that we almost always give up on, because they're already headed down a supposed bad path. But it's just like I want to be able to inspire people my age and like younger people too, because I'm literally playing catch up. There's people that have been doing art my age since they was like 8 years old. I didn't start till I was about 18. So as the goal when I speak to these kids is like, look, I look like you, I talk like you, and I found a way to make design and art a profession, and you can too. I'm going to give you resources that I'm just now finding out so that you can have the head start already and start building that path for you, for your future self.
Very cool. How would you describe your personal style, aesthetically speaking?
For like, in terms of like design or like dress?
Dress, what you wear.
Oh, so that's funny, man. Yo, it depends. It depends on the hairstyle. Honestly, now it really depends. If I have an afro or like a twist out, braid out, whatever, I'm gonna lean heavy into that 70s, 80s look. I'm gonna wear a ringer tee with some bootcut pants and some leather Acme Studios boots. I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna try and just like I'm gonna lean into that. Whereas like if I have some like box braids like I do now, I'm gonna be more experimental with more modern fits. I'm gonna try and do something feels um that feels sleek, or it feels edgy. It feels like a rock star. Like I wear like some Rick Owens or like some vintage distressed t-shirt. I I'll wear a Black Sabbath tee or something. I actually listen to them. So like I feel like I can wear one of their shirts. But it really depends. And it's kind of limiting sometimes, because I'm like, oh, if I have an afro and I wear a more modern fit, it kind of looks weird. But to the general public, it works. So I don't know. My style is versatile. I like to boast that I can wear whatever and make it work. And I feel like so far it's working well. But I definitely love the punk rock look.
Yes.
That style is definitely my fave.
Would you want to speak on your design aesthetic as well as your dressing aesthetic?
I mean, I basically, I'm like in terms of for like Elijah Justice NYC, um, the aesthetic is really I'm trying to get that happy medium of mature goth like elevated look and mixing it
Hmm.
with nostalgia and playful motives, trying to figure out how to blend grunge with nostalgia slash playfulness. And I'm still figuring that out, but I'm getting there. It's getting close.
I feel like the playfulness definitely comes through in your work because you have these very gestural lines that you use all the time and like some like almost like a scribbling kind
Right.
of feeling to it or a cutout and the playfulness definitely comes across for sure.
Yeah. Now I'm just like, yo, I'm trying to figure out, okay, because sometimes when like, especially like, for example, like black people, when you see something that is a little too goth or punk, it might feel like growing up in black households is like stuff that felt like the devil. You're like, oh no, we stay away from that. So I'm trying to figure out how to balance like bringing in that grunge zine magazine look without it feeling too like too off the dark end. Yeah, but like, cause I don't want my stuff to all look playful and then it feels like a kid brand. Like, maybe it's experimenting with some punk graphics or experimenting with more detailed silhouettes in the clothes that makes it feel more mature, but definitely don't want to just feel like kid stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I personally am a sucker for the goth aesthetic, and I recently purchased one of your long sleeves, the Frankenstein. I forget the name of the design. It's a great tee. What was the inspiration behind that one besides obviously Frankenstein and Mary Shelley?
So really the big inspiration it comes from um there's a line in the book actually. I actually have it written down. Let me find it. Yeah, I have it written down and basically what's being said, it's a really heartfelt like interpretation of Frankenstein and him yearning to like have a companion, right? So basically in the movie slash book, Frankenstein is like everyone thinks he's like some evil character, but really he was somebody that was misunderstood. When he was created, he was never named. His creator started to actually shun him, ignore him. He told him he would create him a companion, but decided against it because basically his creator was scared of him. And so it's basically nature versus nurture. Frankenstein was brought into this world and completely abandoned. And so that made him basically evil. Whereas if his creator would have shown him love and raised him in an environment where he felt cared for, maybe he wouldn't have been a monster. So that's where the if I cannot inspire love, I will cause fear line came from. Frankenstein tried to show that, like, yo, he wanted to be a loving individual. He wanted to have relationships with people. There's heartfelt moments in the movie, the black and white movie, where he's like interacting with this little girl and a flower, but everyone is scared of him. And that little girl wasn't, but he just kind of got to his edge where, like, literally, all right, my master don't like me. Y'all don't rock with me. I'm just gonna cause fear then. And I don't know, maybe I was feeling that way too about like the breakup that I went through. Honestly, it's like, sheesh, deep down you want to be like a loving individual and then like something happens and then you're just like, shoot, maybe maybe I am a monster or maybe I am evil. I don't know. But really, yeah, Frankenstein, there's an interesting like kind of love story about that. So that was really what I was kind of talking about with that tea.
Damn, yeah. I feel like there's so much to say about that particular conversation. Like, I feel like I could go off on like such a other tangent, but like, it is like I really appreciate that story too. Also, just generally, like as a trans person, I don't know that many trans people that don't kind of appreciate that story, but like, um, yeah, I really appreciate too, like just kind of hearing this story. I think what's hitting me is just thinking about like the depth behind this shirt, right? It's like someone can go online and like, buy it and be like, okay, it's cute, I like what it looks like, or like it looks hot, whatever. But it's like, to kind of know the intention behind it and the depth behind it for you, is really touching to me. It's really, it's cool to hear that and hear that there's so much intention and like thought, and so much of yourself also in the design. In some ways, it sounds like, right, so much of your own emotional landscape in some ways.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better at like communicating the story aspect. Like I'm working on some new strategies on how to tell people what I just told y'all. it's hard, very hard to do that just on Instagram. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that opening line of that chunk of text that like that quote is from, he literally starts off like, "I am malicious because I am miserable," and it's like, yo, that's, I mean, it's, I don't know, to me, it's kind of deep. And he's like, "Am I not shunned and hated by all mankind?" Like, yeah, like he has a right to be upset.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like it's interesting when you hear that aspect. You kind of understand Frankenstein or the monster more. Actually, you kind of understand why he started like going crazy versus like, oh, he's just a monster. And there's even some interesting parallels between that and like Black communities being underserved and underfunded, and that's why they enter a pipeline. But that's a whole other topic.
Also, more broadly, the influence of horror films shows up in your work again and again. What's the draw for you?
Man, I'll be honest with you. I've loved horror since I was a kid. I I think my first like horror movie that kind of got me in there that I can remember, not even a horror movie, but Jurassic Park. Them dinosaurs had me so scared. I remember going to bed, like, you know, when you lay on the pillow, you can hear your pulse sometimes.
Yeah, in your
When I
ear,
was a
yeah.
kid and I heard that pulse, it reminded me of that scene in Jurassic Park where you can't hear the T-Rex and they're at the Jeep and they're like about to get in the Jeep and all you hear is the steps and you see the puddles because it's raining, you or like it's starting to rain, you see the puddles trembling. That scene freaked me out as a kid and I have no idea why that drawed me to it. But Jurassic Park and Courage the Cowardly Dog, those two things from my childhood, I think is what got me into horror overall.
Oh, Mac is so excited right now.
Okay, because look, listen. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Some of those episodes are like so deranged. They should not have been shown to children. I like the episode with that dude that's like in the bathroom trying to cut his hair. Who's got like that creepy ass smile. That shit haunted my nightmares for
Yes.
years. Years. That should. It's so deranged. Like it's so good.
Oh my god.
Dude, that it's moments like that just like, yo, those moments when you're a kid ultimately shape who you become. Like you either get drawn to it or you get pushed away and it scares you. And I guess for us, it definitely pulled us in. Or at
Oh,
least for
Wow.
me. Shoot.
For sure. I've always been kind of interested in the, I guess some people would say like the, I don't know, like more painful or like, yeah, maybe miserable sides of like the human condition, maybe because of a lot of my own experiences growing up. But I've always been more drawn to that stuff than pushed away because I think I've always wanted to try to understand it. And I don't know if that's something that you relate to, but I
Yeah.
know for me, like that was a big draw. Is I was like, I want to kind of understand like this aspect of humanity that everyone seems so afraid of, but that to me is like none of us are that far away from it at any given point. Like let's be
Exactly.
honest about it. Like I don't know.
it's so true. It's like simmering below the surface so often, and people don't want to talk about certain things in polite conversation.
Yeah, or I'm just like you're saying, it's like if you go through enough shit in your life, like it's hard not to become some kind of a way.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like yeah. And like yeah, like if you go through stuff growing up sometimes too, it's like you kind of got to make a choice sometimes about like how do I want to show up in the world? Do I want to just be mad all the time? Do I want to just like feel like the world is out to get me all the time, because I've been through all this shit or like and am I going to let that affect my relationships or do I want to try to kind of like be different a little bit? And I think for me like yeah, there's some kind of connection there for me with like horror stuff and like some of the just like I don't know,
Yeah.
scarier shit. I don't know. But yeah, fully a tangent, but
It's
appreciating you in this moment.
No, it's a good tangent. Yeah.
nah, yeah, no, super good. I just remember like maybe it's like yo, I maybe me being exposed to that real young. I remember seeing Texas Chainsaw Massacre in theaters with my grandpa,
Brutal.
and like pretty sure pretty sure my mom wouldn't have approved of it, but I remember we went and seen it, and that was like the one of the movies that I actually jumped at as a kid. And it was like a stupid jump scare, just like a transition to something else. But I've always just been kind of drawn to horror. My brother and I, we would watch like Freddy versus Jason and Friday the 13th movies. There was this, oh my gosh, there was this one PlayStation game called Clock Tower, and my mom and aunt used to play that. I don't think we were allowed to watch them, But as we got a little bit older, my we would like then we would watch them play. It was basically this guy named Scissor Man, and he would come out when the clock tower like rings or whatever, and he's chasing you through an abandoned building with giant pair of shears and like stuff like that. It's like, yo, why am I like horror now? I have no idea. But
And you said your mom and your aunt were playing that?
yeah, they were playing it, but I don't know if we were allowed to watch it because I don't really remember them playing it. But I remember the game and I remember my brother playing it as I got a little bit older.
It sounds very Silent Hill, reminiscent of Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Visuals.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's like if you look at it now, the graphics are just terrible. It's like, yo, how were you scared of that? But at the time, I thought he was definitely downstairs waiting for me when I went to get a cup of water.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm looking at the graphics right now on my phone. I'm like, yeah. I love that shit.
It's very early 2000s, but
wow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how your design work and approach to skating intersect. To me, it seems like you have this auteur sensibility. What does the concept of creative control mean to you as a designer and a skater?
Well, the beauty is, so I started making my own skate tees because, like I said, in Cleveland, I was going to these skate jams, but I wasn't in a Cleveland skate crew. So I didn't have a Cleveland tee to wear. And so I was just like, I'm about to make my own tee. And the beauty of these is the creative direction is all me. I don't have an art director. I don't have a boss telling me what revisions I need to make and trying to make a client happy. It's just like, nah, I can make one t-shirt for $20 and I can display Cleveland freestyle from my perspective. So like the first t-shirt I ever made was like, Cleveland freestyle is better than whatever y'all are doing. And when I tell you, when I posted that, people was going crazy because it sums up what a Cleveland skater thinks. And I even had New Yorkers like, yo, that's fire. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like they're very just low-hanging fruits. I can make the designs in like an hour and then pay $20 to have them made. I found a spot in Greenpoint that can print the t-shirts for like $20. And so it's just like, yo, I'm gonna just keep making my own t-shirts. But now it's to the point where I've created some really good ones and people want me to start selling them. And I'm like, man, this is supposed to just be for fun. Like, I don't want to profit too much from skating. But I'm also like, yo, imagine if we pull up to like Rolling in the Carolinas or Skate-a-thon and we all have like one shirt that I made that like screams Cleveland freestyle is the best. That's pretty fire. And that unifies a city. And I'm not even speaking this because it's my design. It's just like, yo, this is how you show up to a rink. This is how you take over a rink and let people know, like, nah, we them guys, and we gonna wear it on our shirts, and we gonna show it in how we skate. So now I like creating my own stuff, and people just kind of start to rock with it. So I'm trying to figure out a way to make some of the tees, but lately I've been making WWF like Attitude Era inspired Cleveland freestyle tees. I made 3. 2 of them are based off the NWO, and then this newest one is based off Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I know that when I post these, I haven't posted any of them.
316, baby.
Yes. So look,
That was the first one I thought of too when he said that. Austin 316.
Look. So for 316, I created a tee. It says Cleveland 216 instead of Austin 316. And then on the back, I took Stone Cold's logo. Yes, I took Stone Cold's logo and the giant skull. On the skull, it says Stone Cold. I took the skull and put Cleveland freestyle. I haven't posted that one, but I know that when I do,
that's so sick.
They're gonna be like, yo, I need this. I need it. I'm like, here we go. So I'm purposely not posting it so I don't have to worry about my DMs going crazy wanting that tee. But that's the level of like, yo, I'm trying to bring that to skating because it's literally just blending what streetwear designers do and high-end designers do and then applying it to a niche. And I understand the formula because I naturally am interested in it. I love researching stuff. I love finding little weird gems like that and then blending it is like yeah, that's the kind of bag that I'm in right now. And I honestly want to challenge more New Yorkers to take pride in their New Yorkers or New Jersey people to take more pride in their skate community and doing the same thing. Like, it feels weird that I feel like I'm the one that loves my style, but I want New Yorkers and New Jersey people to feel just like that too. Like, yo, pull up to the rink, all y'all got y'all matching tees on, saying that trains and trios is the best style call or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just love. It's just fun to make these tees where you kind of talk trash, but it's just playful, and it's like, attitude era. Like, to me, that's Cleveland freestyle. So it just makes sense.
Yeah, that's so fun. That's so cool. Yeah, and it makes it seem like it's also like, yeah, very fun for you to just like work on. You strike me as someone who probably has like a million ideas a day on some level, or has kind of just a lot floating around in your head, like
Too
ready to
many
go at any
ideas.
moment when the moment hits. Yeah.
Nah, that Stone Cold tee, I think I just seen a random Instagram reel about Stone Cold like chugging a beer and like flipping off the camera. I was like, yo, this is Cleveland freestyle. I think it was literally the day after my experience at Brooklyn Skates. And I was like, nah. And then I seen that Stone Cold clip. I'm like, this is how I feel. And I need to make a tea about this. You see Austin 316, bro, Cleveland 216. And then you put the giant skull in the back so that when people are skating behind you, they can't dodge it. And then you hit a 540 on them. Oh, come on. This is like, that's everything, bro.
So damn, I love that.
Brilliant.
Yes.
That's really good.
I know. It just adds so much dimension to skating too, to think about it in that way and to really think about like, what does it mean with like what I'm literally representing on my body, and like what does that mean for like how I feel that day, or what does it represent about me or about my community, and bringing that into skating I think is so cool. And like something Jasmine and I have talked about is like kind of the overlap of like fashion and skating, and how like people don't really actually talk about that much, but especially now that skating is getting more popular, it's like coming into fashion in many ways. And like, yeah, I don't think we've had a whole lot of guests where we've been able to kind of like have this type of conversation, which I think is kind of exciting.
Yeah,
for
cool.
us, which is cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool to think about the sort of infectious nature of putting out such a visceral shirt design that is so referential to something that everybody knows, everybody feels that attitude right away.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah, man.
And thinking about rink spaces and self-adornment and the way that we dress, the rink space is one that holds a lot of personal and communal meaning. Given the gravity of all that, how do you, Elijah, decide what to wear to the rink?
Oh, this is perfect. Yo, I've been having this combo with my roommate Aaron and my friend Kent a lot lately. When I first started out, yo, I was like, man, I'm dressing straight like a Cleveland person. I'm about to wear just a simple graphic tee or a blank tee, and then I'm wearing Adidas 3-stripe pants, the soccer pants. And that was it. That's what I wore for like 2 years straight. But now I'm like, yo, I'm trying to get a fit off every time I go to like a skate rink. Like, I'm buying, like, I never used to skate in jeans or like my nice, like kind of high end clothes. Now I'm starting to do that. When I went to Orlando, I was skating in Rick Owens pants. And when I went to Atlanta, I was skating in like Rick Owens shorts. Um, the Flippers opening, I wore my Put Down Hate skate tee with Acme Studios, like flared pants. So now I'm like, yo, I'm trying to look fly as ever on skates. And then if I can wear a Cleveland tee that works, cool. But if not, I want to look fly, because like that's a whole nother avenue. Like, I know I can dress well off skates, but once you dress well on skates and you're doing like some crazy slide 360 leg drop into a 540, like that is like, there's nothing better to me than that presence on the rink. It's like, dang, he looks fly and he skates cool. Like, and it's just all organic for me because I love my skate style, and I love, look, it's just like Bo Jackson. Maybe he's the one that said this. I could be wrong, but if you look good, you feel good, and if you feel good, you play good, bro. If you look good, you feel good, and if you feel good, you skate good. That's how I look at it. So now I'm like, look, I done bought like some Japanese brands I'm trying to wear and skate, like some black owned brands I'm trying to skate in. And now I'm just like, how do I feel? Has anyone seen me skate in this? And does it look fly with my skates? If yes, marks all those, like, yo, I'm wearing that to the rink. I'm about to look fly, and I got to get a video clip.
Hell yeah.
I feel like that really speaks to your confidence putting your Rick Owens on the line at the rink. I'm like, oh no. What if you rip it?
Yo, that's funny because so let me tell you this story. So when I went skating in Atlanta this past February, I went to Jive Biscuit, right? Opening night, Friday night, I wore this new Cleveland skate shirt that I designed. I basically gave ourselves a fake award as the best freestyle skaters in the country. And then the shorts were these Rick Owens, the shorts were these Rick Owens champion collab shorts. They were like a this really thin, like nylon is not the right word. It was definitely some high-end, like Italian, whatever material. But I skated so hard that night that my legs were sweating. My swim trunk or my shorts turned into swim trunks. Like I'm telling you right now, there's a video that I posted and I can show it to y'all later. My shorts were so wet. People thought I had on swim trunks. It was just sweat dripping from the shorts. So I was like, you know what? Okay, wearing Rick's thin materials while skating is not a good idea. So that's when I tried wearing the denim, and the denim worked. So I was just like, okay, don't wear the super thin Rick Owens, but wear something with a little bit of weight and I'll be good. But I had never sweated that much before. But that was one of my best skate nights.
I'm imagining like pools of sweat in your skates that have just like run down your legs. Like,
yo,
like
that's literally what happened. It's literally what happened. I've never felt sweat dropping from my shorts and hitting my ankle. That was a new feeling that skate night. And I even had somebody come up to me and was like, yo, you're a good skater, but if you would have did that at our rink, he was basically like, yo, they would have beat you up. I'm like, yo, that's insane.
Wait, because of your outfit? Wait, I'm confused.
Nah, because
getting the floor wet. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was sweating so much. It was like sweat just falling everywhere. But like, he obviously wasn't
towel like on the ground.
Yeah, right. He obviously wasn't like being super serious, but I'm sure he was a little bit.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Can you tell me what it was like to be at Rolling in the Carolinas and participating in the Cleveland rollout?
Yo, that's a good question. So Rolling in the Carolinas has a special place in my heart because that was my first big national skate jam, like in 2022. And that was like my, hey, Cleveland, this is me. Like, this is me. So, and I knew going in 2022, I was like, okay, 2023, I got to be on my A game. So I like Rolling in Carolinas because that's the one skate jam that all New Yorkers go to, right? So I like it because I can you really get to see the style all together. It's not just me. It's like when 30 other Cleveland people pull up and we all skate together for the roll call and throughout the session, they're like, every post Carolinas trip, they're like, yo, I understand Cleveland now. Like, I see why you skate like that. Like, it's really cool. So that's the one trip where everybody sees Cleveland in its entirety. All New Yorkers see it and they love the style. They respect it a lot more. But Rolling in the Carolinas itself, it's okay. It's not my favorite skate jam. This year was weird because the flow of traffic was really weird. The middle portion of the rink where people do the middle work of footwork basically expanded all the way to the outside lanes. So when you would skate down the outside lane, everybody would stop and get blocked and you were dodging people. But then when you hit the corners, in the curve of the rink, the space opened up. So this year was a little weird because there was no organization in the flow of traffic, but we still pulled up and went crazy during the roll call for the last 2 years in a row. When Cleveland gets called and we do our freestyle and then they call Ohio for the Ohio Stride, people love watching us. I've heard people say this. It is not just me riding my style and rooting for it. People literally say that it's their favorite style call because it's so different. They don't see you like, oh, he did this slide, turned around and did a 540, a 720, a 900 jump, and then he did that into a leg drop, and it's 30 of them doing the same routine. Oh, this is the greatest style I've ever seen. Like, I have footage saved from 2022 where a dude is like, oh, dad, I gotta try this as soon as I get home. I gotta try this. And then I have other posts
Aw.
saved where people are just like, this style is so cool. So I'm like, yo, you gotta respect this style because people that don't see it all the time, if that's their reaction, like, it takes so much courage to do what we do. Like, not many people can even feel comfortable doing a 180 or a 360 on skates. And like, that also leads me to this thing where it's like, if you are blessed enough to have you come from a city that has their own skate style, like, learn that style first. Like, I know there's a ton of styles, but there's something special about learning your hometown or your home state style and then going to another state and doing it. Because of course everybody wants to JB and do house, but if you lock in on that small city or whatever style and then show up, you're keeping your own hometown skate culture alive and you're spreading its overall appearance.
Would you ever be willing to teach a workshop on Cleveland skating here in New York?
Oh, hell yeah. There's people that are already asking me. I even get asked to do like workshops and slow skate workshops because even a Clevelander does it differently than a New Yorker when it comes to slow sets. So I would love to do it, but I would want to make sure because I know that it's not just me. I would love to be able to bring like 2 or 3 Clevelanders. They can crash at our crib. I don't care, but I would love to have them come out and help teach Cleveland freestyle because I'm not the face of Cleveland freestyle. And quite frankly, I know New Yorkers think I'm really good at skating, but I can tell you like 10 different people right now that are way better than me. So again, this thing, it's not about me building really my name. It's really about building Cleveland's name. But yeah, I would love to do a workshop. It can be Cleveland, it can be Ohio Stride, it can be, like I said, people love watching me during slow sets. So it could be a slow set kind of workshop too.
I would come to that for sure.
Yeah, man, gotta teach the sauce.
I want to see that happen. I want to see that happen.
Actually, I really like teaching people too, by
Connect
the
you
way.
with the Ohio.
Cool. Hell yeah. Do you do any like? It sounds like people could just come up to you at the rink and you'll like work with people and stuff. But do you do any like one-off lessons or like things like that with folks?
I've never done that. No, I've never done a one-off lesson or anything. Because again, I'm still trying to kind of just enjoy skating and not necessarily profit off it. Like, but before COVID came, I was actually considering trying to be like a skate instructor at like Lakeside or something, just like for fun. So, I'd like to kind of go back to the Mecca, aka Cleveland, a few more times and learn some more stuff. And then I feel like I could be good at kind of teaching and doing some workshops. So I can be like, here's some entry level Cleveland, here's some intermediate, here's some advanced.
Yeah. Shit really changes, when you start to monetize it, it can really, change your relationship to it. So I could understand wanting to kind of like keep it for yourself a little bit or kind of, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, some of my best, when I hear the right music, bro, I be in such a big bag. Like, not bag is like, I'm just skating really well. Like, yo, I be hyping up everybody around me. I be yelling, I be screaming. Like, lately, people have been like wearing a mic and skating. I'm thinking about doing that because the excitement and joy that I just get while skating when I hear the right music, I don't know, there's not too many other things that can compare to that happiness.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. If there's anything you want to plug or anything you want to cover that we haven't covered, we can spend some time on that.
Yeah. It's a few things. First thing, I forgot to say this, but I know when I was talking about like or the New York and not playing whatever music, I think another reason why I think it's important to have options for slower paced music is because I've met people and I've interacted with people who were skating for the first time and they felt like the music was so fast that they couldn't get a hang of it, of just regular skating. They didn't feel comfortable stepping on Branchbrook's floor because everybody was skating so fast. So it's like, yo, to teach people skating, you can't just put them out there in 100 plus BPM music. You got to give them something that they can learn how to step to first. Like you just throw somebody out there and they don't even know how to skate to the beat. They don't even know how to keep their balance. And then you hearing super fast music. It's like, of course they don't want to come back. And I also feel like, skating as a whole, not just New York, but as a whole, how are we going to get the younger generation into skating if they don't hear the songs that they listen to on a day-to-day basis at the rink? Like, like some kid in Brooklyn right now, they probably not listening to
That's a
some
really good point.
80s classic or some house song. They're probably listening to 5 Year Foreign or like NBA Youngboy or something, right? So don't you think if we're gonna keep the next generation interested, we should be playing some of their music? I think that's super important. That doesn't get talked about a lot, but the next generation, they're gonna want to hear the music they listen to today at the rink. And I ain't grow up listening to house. I ain't grow up listening to like disco music. So it's like, how do you get me to a rink? That's why I love Cleveland, because when I went there, that was the music I heard growing up in present day. So that's something that is super important that I don't talk about a lot. But it's like, yo, if we gonna get the next kid skating, we need to be playing. There needs to be an opportunity for them to hear their session, not just at the family skate sessions. Because once they turn 18, then what? Are they gonna still hear they music at the 18 and up sessions? Maybe not.
You would think it would be a no-brainer, but yeah.
Yo, I'm telling you,
You would
I
think.
thought it would be. I Skating here caught me off guard, man. Let's see. I feel like there was like two other things, and I'm trying to kind of figure out how to word them. But I forgot that I did have an instance with another rink, and it was just the idea of like, we as the skaters, we supported this rink and got them to open up, or well, we helped them get to where they were today to open up. But when they opened up, man, it was just fumbled so much, and so many skaters felt like they were ignored or left behind. So to anybody that's considering opening a rink, it's like, don't be so heavily invested in getting influencers and people who aren't fully in the skate community. It's like, yo, don't forget about the day one skaters that will ultimately help keep your institution alive. So you plan on opening up a rink, like, treat those OG skaters, not even OG skaters, treat those skaters of the actual community with the same respect that you would treat the influencers or the people that you would invite out there. Because I mean, we're gonna be the ones that ultimately keep coming back. The influencers are gonna fly in and fly out. So I don't know. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The people that are actually committed to preserving the culture and contributing to it and not just benefiting from it.
Yeah, it's like I'm a easily approachable person. Like I'm never trying to cancel nobody. Like, if y'all see me do a post, that's just me being transparent. And other people are literally telling me in my DMs like, yo, thank you. I experienced X, Y, and Z. So it's like, yeah, I might feel like I'm outspoken at times, but I'm speaking up because some other people feel like they can't. You can go to a park, you can go to a school gym, you can go to a rink, you can go to an outdoor rink. There's like so many opportunities and so much division right now, just because there's so many opportunities. So if you're going to open up something new, along with creating a safe space, remember who is ultimately going to be there helping keep your space alive week to week.
Agreed. Yeah, did you have one more thing, Elijah, or no?
I mean, my last thing was really just I really just wanted to kind of shout out the crews from Cleveland that inspired me. And look, I'm gonna just give you the thing right now. Look, if I don't say your crew or something, I'm sorry. These are just the first few that I thought of. But we got some of the more traditional / conventional crews like Skate Life. Um, they really inspire me. You got a skater named Wayne there. That's like everybody sees him. Like he's you see him on IG all the time. You got top flight class. That's super good. You got Fly Religion Cartel. They have some fire routines. There's a guy named Dumpy Cuts and Role Model. That's a part of that crew. elite squad that's like full of the OGs like Ivory, Tim, Super Fire Crew. And then the beauty of this is like, I mentioned some of the newer crews. So you got Team Homicide / Dip Girls. Dip Girls go viral all the time. You got Storm Chasers and F5, a nice collab group with men and women that are great freestylers. They're ushering in the new wave of freestyling. And then you have Freak Squad and Style Benders as well. Those last three groups that I named, they're basically ran with like a men's division and a women's division or whatever. And they're helping keep Cleveland freestyle alive while adding their own touch. And I think that's super important just to kind of pay recognition, because I pull and screen record videos from all those crews I just named. And of course there's more crews, but yeah, super important.
Yeah, thank you so much for naming them
Yeah.
explicitly.
We'll definitely put them in the show notes too.
Yeah,
I'll touch base with you to get all the Instagrams and everything.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's perfect. Because like I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out a way to like start shouting out Cleveland skaters and like use my page to like help give people a spotlight. But like I said, like yeah, Team Homicide with Don and TT, Storm Chasers with Derek and Autumn, and yeah, just all them, man. They're like, I'm not a Cleveland skater without them, because they're the ones that pass me all the stuff. And the beauty is like, it ain't just the men skating like me, it's women skating just like me and better. So it's fire just to see all of us. You see a girl hit a 540 leg drop and you're like, I just seen the dude do that. They both, like, it doesn't matter how you identify or what you are, like everybody is skating like that. That's fire.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So the last two questions that I have for you are relatively simple. Do you think skaters spend enough time off skates with one another?
Hey, no, they don't. That's one of the things I'm trying to do is like create like some sort of outings that we can do. And it ain't even gotta be like we just go and party or something, right? Like when um in February I threw a Valentine's Day party for people to just come to our crib and like meet skaters, meet non-skaters, and then from there go to the opening of Rollerwave. So like it's like, yo, I want to know people outside of skating. Like I think I think we did a toast, and that was something that I said. Like the reason why I threw this event was because I want to get to know y'all outside of skating. I think like I'm doing, like me, for example, I just told y'all everything I'm doing outside of skating. And I know a ton of other talented creative individuals that are doing stuff outside of skating and nobody knows. So it's like, man, like, yo, let's like go bowling someday, or like let's just, I mean, we don't have to always do a kickback, but y'all could pull up to my crib someday like that. Like I want to get to know people outside of skating, because I mean, skating is cool, but like, I mean, I know skating ain't just the only thing that I do. So yeah, we need to start doing some stuff outside of skating. Like let's get a karaoke night going or something. Like we're in New York City, bro. It's so much that we can do.
Ooh.
Let's get a picnic going or something at Prospect
So
Park
many
or
options.
wherever. Ooh, actually, I'm sorry.
I feel like you and I are of the same. Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot my roommate and I. So we was talking about literally creating like a like a low-key brand for like hosting events at our crib. I mean, and it doesn't have to be for skaters, but like we was gonna tie our Ohio influence back to stuff. Like so like we get a projector and we project a movie in our living room, and people pull up and they have marked areas on our floor so they can set up like they're at a drive-in, they have their popcorn, they have their sleeping bag or something, and like, yo, that's an opportunity where we all have a movie night, but then we include our Ohio influence into like these events, like, I don't know, just doing some weird shit like that where it brings people together.
Yeah, it sounds cute. Really campy. I'm into it.
Yeah, which is like
Well, I was gonna
Midwest
say, I
all the
think
way.
you and I are of the same mind, and yeah, for sure, house party, hanging out in your sleeping bag in someone's living room, 100%. Movie projected in the backyard on a sheet hanging on a clothesline.
Yes,
100%.
exactly. Mosquitoes and shit.
100%. Absolutely. Sleeping in a tent in someone's backyard, it's fine.
Yo, exactly.
Sign me up.
I love that. I know people don't do enough of that here. It's true. It's true.
What were you gonna say, Matt?
Just that I think you and I are of the same mind, which is like part of why we do this podcast. Is I think we're also kind of like skating's cool, and there's so much more. There's so many more layers, and like it's fun to relate around like a shared activity, but it's also really important to relate around like the other human aspects of who we are as skaters.
Yeah.
So
it's important.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah, that like lens,
my roommate told me, like, we was joking around earlier this week. I was like, yo, I'm not obsessed with skating, am I? Like, and he looked at me and started laughing. He's like, yeah, you are. I'm like, dang, I know I am. Like, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't itching to go roller skate right now, because that high is just unbeatable. But yeah, like, I think when you realize that there's more to life than skating, you enjoy skating more. When skating is the only thing you have going for yourself, then that's when you start taking things personal. Or if somebody is better than you, then you start getting upset, and then it starts to become a competition, or the drama is only going to keep you going. But when you have other stuff going on, you're like, oh, I mean, yeah, I can't skate tonight, but I have this cool workshop that I'm doing for sewing. Or I can't go skating. Or yeah, I didn't have the best skate night, but I'm linking with some friends tomorrow and we're going to see this movie. It's like, yo, if you supplement skating, you enjoy it more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you highlight a really important point, that when it's all that someone has, it kind of reframes it in a way that isn't necessarily positive. And I think that is what contributes to that feeling in a space like we can't talk about our feelings and we can't be vulnerable with one another in the skate space, because I feel that, again, to piggyback on what Mac was saying, that's a big reason of why we started this podcast, so we could kind of, tap into those vulnerabilities and how we're feeling while we're participating in roller skating community. So yeah, really
Yeah.
vibing with what you're saying.
Well, what's this last question? I'm very
So
curious.
it's a very straightforward question. So Elijah, set the scene for us. Describe your perfect night at the rink. I'm talking music, conversation, skating, obviously. Tell us. Take us there.
Whew. Whew, that's oh man. Um, Perfect night at the rink. Um,
Please.
My perfect night, man. First off, I'm gonna
He's
get there
singing.
on time. I'm gonna get there on time. First off, I'm gonna be there for the warm up, 100%. But the warm up is cool because, like, maybe they're playing some like early 2000s like rap or classics, and then it slowly goes up to like, oh man, I don't know, like some Chicago style music, right? Like that starts to no, it goes from the oldies, then it goes into some Atlanta style music, then it goes into Chicago style music, the tempo's building up. Then you get into your house slash disco vibes, right. Then it slows back down to the R&B set. And then from there you just pick your tempo back up. But really my ideal skate night is like hearing all the sounds. You take me to the West Coast, you take me to Chicago, Ohio, DMV, New York, Atlanta, and it really repeats. And then of course, like we got some Cleveland people there. We got some people from all over. But honestly, just insert like a skate-a-thon skate night or something, and that's like my favorite night. I mean, you have DJs from different areas, and then I got a crazy fit on. I'm going crazy with other people, and we have a good time. The combos that I have is like I see a random OG who has a cool like vintage roller skate shirt on, and I compliment that shirt because I think it's fire. I record or take a photo of the shirt, post it on my IG, like, yo, this OG has this on. That's pretty fire. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's really it. My perfect night is everybody feeling represented from wherever they're from on the skate floor.
Hell yeah. On that note.
And not forgetting to wear pants of an absorbent fabric.
Yeah. Yes. I will never wear shorts again. I will never wear shorts again to the rink. That's cut. At least for a skate jam. You know, if it's a chill night at like Brooklyn Skates or, you know, Long Island, Branchbrook, like I could do it there. But for a skate jam, I'll never wear shorts again. That was insane. But yo, you know what though? The one of the combos that made me start wearing my high end stuff. There's this old head at Massapequa named Jerry, I think, and I seen him. I was like, "Yo, you're wearing that Rick Owens Champion collab," and he wore Rick Owens shoes to the rink. So I'm like, "Yo, you be skating in that and you don't care?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I buy all this stuff. Like, why just wait until the perfect time to wear it? Just wear that stuff all the time." I'm like, okay, bro, next time I see you, I'm about to wear a Rick just like you. And from there, that's when I started wearing all my high-end stuff. So perfect night, you got a good fit on, you feel represented on the floor, there's no drama, and everyone feels like it's a safe space to skate and not be bothered.
Hell yeah.
I love it. Well, so Elijah, it's been really cool talking to you, and I hope we get to do it again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here with us and spending this time with us and sharing so much of yourself. It's definitely appreciated.
Yo, thank you for having
teach us
me.
the Cleveland style.
Yo, I'm telling you, whenever y'all want to learn Cleveland freestyle, let me know. It's been a great time, and I'm glad to be able to speak about my experience as a skater.
Mac was made for those 360 jumps. They're going to be a great student.
Yeah, I could do 360s, but that's about it. Anything more than that, I might die.
Look, if you can do a 360, you can do a 5, man. I'm telling you, if I learned that in Brooklyn Skates of all places, if I learned in Brooklyn Skates, half the battle is just confidence. I'm telling you, half the battle is confidence.
That's true. You gotta like actually send it, because otherwise, if you hesitate, then it's over.
Yeah. If you hesitate, you're gonna. I've seen people, they go up, they hesitate, and then they break out of their form. They try and cancel midair, and then they just fall, and that's how you get injured.
Yep.
So like, if you're gonna do it, you gotta just commit.
It's the confidence and the commitment. Yep. 100%.
So yeah, we'll leave you with those parting words. If you're gonna do it, you just gotta commit.
Hell yeah, that's a great way.
Thank you so much, Elijah.
Yo, thank you.
It was great getting to know you better. Have a good night.
Bye.
Yo, thank you.
Bye.
You have a great night too, both of y'all. See you.
Bye.